Hi, my name is Mushrose, and for the past 3 years, I've been struggling with a huge art block, during which time I dabbled a little bit into Blender, and I also had some experience with live 2D rigging. I tried to get my creative juices flowing using other means, but my one true passion has always been making illustrations. And yet, I was so badly burnt out that even though I really wanted to draw, the thought of just attempting a sketch scared me. And after all that time of sleeping and eating and staring at blank canvases, I've said, no. I was determined to get rid of this art block for good. I had ideas for 2 original characters that I felt reflected my love for both cutesy things and weird mystical things. I started working on them, and this time, I didn't quit halfway. So here is the process of creating my OCs and how it gave me back my art direction. So, starting off strong, our first character is Cosette. As you can see on screen, Cosette is a ballerina. I spent quite some time drawing this pose, but I ended up not liking it, so we don't talk about it. When I started the sketch, I tried not to think about what I was drawing too hard. It's less of a character sheet than an outfit of the day dump. Anyway, you're probably wondering why she has such a big old frown on her face. Oh, she's not the friendliest person around. I wanted to convey the feeling of a character that seems quite distant and cold, but also very feminine and isn't afraid of standing out in a crowd. As to why she low-key looked kinda mad all the time, I shall tell you later. That being said, I'm basically winging the poses here. I just made sure to give her shoes. By the way, I know now these are not correct ballet hand positions. I will change them later, trust me. Now, I came across these ballet-themed casual shoes. I thought they looked so cute, and I wanted to play with the idea that all of the shoes she owns are ballet-core to some extent. With the poses done, I went to find some outfit inspirations. I've had my eyes on these resin butterfly tops for so long. I don't own any though, so Cosette will be wearing one for me. Pair it with a matching satin skirt and voila! This pose here is just a normal 2-piece ballet outfit. I still kept the 2 pieces when I changed it later on. I was fighting for my life not to draw her insanely long hair because I wanted it to look practical. In the end, I settled for these 2 pitiful, sap looking hair strands. I really like bonnets, but I ended up scrapping it in favor of a more mischievous look. Lastly, the 3/4 side view. I gave her a coquette shirt. Coquette is her favorite type of fashion, which, if you're unaware, is a type of hyper-feminine, romantic, and playful fashion that typically includes a bunch of bows and laces. Also, I just noticed, like, Cosette, I swear I didn't name her like that. The sketch is done, so I'm gonna be doing some line art here and then. Psych! There is no line art in this household. Line art is for the weak. No line art. Just straight to base coloring and shadow, baby. This is where I start to really have some doubts about where this painting is going, because it's easily the most muddy looking section. But once I applied colors onto the shadows, everything just clicks into place. I first tested this coloring method on this pose with the resin top. I think during the time I had art block, rendering shadows and light was the part I dreaded the most, due to how easily it could go wrong. It worked out this time though. I achieved this look by putting shadow onto the subject, then filling the shadow using a clipping mask layer. Then I top it up using an add or color dodge layer to make her skin really pop. I also made some modifications to the base color, which is why I can look really uncanny when I turn off the lighting layer. I gave her hair a red tint, which I'm really glad I did. I like it way better than the orange tone I was aiming for. That's how I solved the rendering conundrum I've been facing. It looks easy, but I spent way longer on it than I should have. Anyway, I moved to this quarter side view. I changed her shirt to be prettier, and then I just did the same thing, but something wasn't right. And I was like, have I already lost it? I just had it. Until I decided to block out half the light on her face and just instantly fell in love. This is easily my favorite out of all the artworks, which if you've made it this far you probably must have guessed, seeing as I plastered it on the introduction. And we're still ignoring this, don't talk about it. While we wait, it's probably a good time to talk a little bit about her backstory. Initially, Cosette didn't intend to pursue ballet. Her family intended for Cosette to focus on her studies and do ballet in her free time. That is until it was discovered that she had a non-fatal condition which will slowly worsen her body and especially will deteriorate limb functions. With a limited amount of time she has to spare for her passion, she chose to halt her studies so she could focus on what she loves until her body can no longer physically pursue it. She has to put in twice the amount of effort compared to the average person and constantly feels like time is running out. She has a lot on her mind. It's why she can act cold and even cynical. Until, spoilers alert, Peyton, the second character, comes into her life and got her to open up. Here I'm scrapping the previous sketch in favor of a more playful look, to see what she looks like when she's friendlier. Also, I just wanted my girl to show off her nails. I nuked the previous ballerina pose. I like the redrawn design so much better. This time I committed to the big bows on her hips. I still kept the 2 hair strands. They just look less sad. And then same old. Nothing really changes except you have the pleasure of seeing me struggle with the left hand. Now in correct ballet hand position, by the way. At one point I used curves to make the bodice more iridescent. And then it's just refining the little details. I gotta confess though, when I got to this point, I had spent way longer on it than I should have. I really just wanted to finish it, so the quality of the later details, at least to me, didn't turn out as good as before. Here's the finished piece. Mixed feelings at the end, but I'm happy with it overall. Peyton, my genderless tree child. So this is where I start throwing ideas at the wall and hope they stick. For Peyton, I wanted to convey the personality of someone who is outwardly boisterous and prideful, but only because their position demands that of them. In truth, if Peyton could choose, they would rather go with the flow and live a quiet life. They do manage to find that kind of life after meeting Cosette. If only it lasted forever. Traumatized your OCs, artist. By the way, pro tip of the day, if you just finished a pose but find it lackluster, try drawing it again. But this time push the angles more, make movements more exaggerated, and maybe scrunch up the character's expression. You might just find a new pose to be more expressive. From this point on, weird stuff is gonna sprout from their face, so I'm gonna give you a bit of lore so that it makes sense. You've seen the biblical angel and mushroom motifs. The angel that inspired me is the Ophanim. I believe that's how it's pronounced. And they're made of wheels with numerous eyes on them. Peyton here was created using the fragments of a fallen Ophanim. More specifically, 2 of the eyes from these numerous wheels. They were originally, a tree.
I'd like to be a tree.
And were given sentience from being implanted with those eyes. So any glowing that their body does, it's the very energy from these eyes spilling out. The eyes don't just make the body glow. They're influencing and altering the body after the image of the fallen Ophanim. Much like how in Elden Ring, multiple creatures mirror Godwin's corpse. In Peyton's case, the twigs and roots on their chests have been influenced to take the shape of stained glass windows. That is the lore explanation anyway. The real reason is I wanted them to look cool, so I punch a hole in their chest. Over here they're looking really depressed. The idea is that whenever they get too emotional, the energy from within their eyes will overflow, causing an excessive growth of leaves and branches that take the form of hair. I thought it's a really neat idea to convey sadness, even if they cannot cry. Normally they have a moderate amount of leaf braids. I reference a campus leaf patterns on their braids to further emphasize that vintage royal feel for the character. In terms of clothing, Peyton typically wears OG fashion, or anything Victorian inspired. On a normal Tuesday though, a classic vintage white shirt would suffice. Speaking of royalty, stay tuned for more lore. Onto the coloring, the first thing I noticed is that this outfit on the right is not strong enough for a first impression. I modified it to have subtle mushroom motifs and changed the colors to a cooler tone. I changed up the arms to resemble human bones. I only realized this way later, but I should have gone the extra mile and made the hands look skeletal too. Then there's a second thing I realized. Rendering lighting on Peyton would be harder. Their color palette is way more desaturated. It'll be difficult to make them feel lifelike while also maintaining that inhumanly pale skin tone, or in this case, bark tone. I experimented with some lighting combinations before settling on this warm spotlight and this yellowy shadow, which I thought I'd never use. So this was a nice opportunity for me to learn lighting. Everything afterwards was pretty smooth sailing. I gave their wood hair a different glow from the usual normal hair. Its iridescent glow signifies a type of magic imbued material. Then there's a mushroom on the face for the extra highlight. Lastly, they have cracks on their cheeks that look like swirl patterns on trees. Because they're so close to the eyes, similar to when they get sad, the cracks glow when they get flustered. This functions as a blush to them. From here on out, it's just relaxing rendering, so let me not keep the lore from you any longer. Peyton Sylvester, Prince of Woodlings. They have always been glowy, more magical than their fellow woodlings, and yet way weaker than those above them. Born into a position of power, yet have no real power themselves. One day, while passing time alone, they spotted a little human girl performing an unfamiliar dance. The dance was graceful and nice, but they couldn't help but notice how beautifully the girl's dress flew around in the wind. Since then, they had developed a fascination for fashion, along with other forms of arts and crafts. They weren't allowed a lot to work with, but for what they had, it was nice to pass the time with. Years later, they were told to go and discreetly retrieve the lost fragments of the Ophanum to assist in, well, whatever plan the higher-ups had in mind. With this excuse, they could pretend to be a civilian and live a normal life for a while. They moved to the city that specialized in many forms of art. The intel was that the fragments could be found here. They thought they saw someone familiar. She has quite the attitude though. Some situations took place and they retrieved the first fragment. Maybe they could ask this girl for help. For such a grumpy person, she sure agreed quickly. Maybe a little too quickly. Oh well, as long as they get the job done. Right? Hey, Peyton and Cosette here. Mushrose doesn't have a mascot yet, so it would be pretty bare bones for her to talk here. Instead, allow us to convey some final thoughts on her behalf. Okay, first of all, thanks for watching this far. My first step in building these two, as well as building a solid art direction for myself and my brand. These two are gonna be a common occurrence throughout my channel. I do have a story for them planned, and I hope I'll be able to tell it fully in the future. Here's the channel banner I drew. It was supposed to be one of those low-effort banners that says, "Make this pretty later." As you can see, I got carried away and it didn't turn out very low effort. So, anyway, I intend to post more illustrations and designs with an emphasis on fashion, as well as frame-by-frame animation, which is something I've been getting into recently. Oh, but Mushrose's avatar itself? Golly, I wonder what that's gonna look like. Seems like you might want to stick around for the next video to find out. Oh, that's all from us for now. Don't leave us hanging. Have a good day, and bye for now.